Namaskar. Welcome to this third and the final session of summary of the 16th Adhyaya of Sri Bhagavad Gita. We start with the gratitude towards the Lord, with whose grace everything is possible. We pray to this Guru Shishya Parampara through which this knowledge is preserved, transmitted so as to reach us. I pay my respects to my Guruji, Pujya Guruma, with whose grace I am able to learn the scriptures and I am able to share this understanding with you. We will start with the prayer. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So the 16th Adhyaya is the Daivi Asuri Sampatti Vibhaga Yoga. Means the Daivi Sampatti means the divine qualities or the divine values, and the Asuri Sampatti are the demonical or the devilish predispositions within us. And everyone's life is a combination of both this Daivi as well as Asuri Sampatti. We have this in different proportions in the life of different people. Daivi Sampattis are like moral values. They are the good values which we imbibe right from our childhood, which our parents, our teachers teach us. And they are useful, important for all persons, not just for spiritual aspirants, but for all people who live life. And it can be imbibed through viveka, vichara, by thinking, by understanding. And this is what we should try to acquire. And this is what Bhagavan in the 14th Adhyaya also said, Sattva Guna. Sattva is something that, Devi Sampatti is like a Sattva Guna. Asuri Sampatti, on the other hand, are more demonical or devilish qualities, which are more, we consider them as negative predispositions within us. And we need to discard them because they are either Rajaguna Pradhana or Tamaguna Pradhana. They are because of this Raja or the Tamaguna. And that's why our sadhana, our life should be more of discarding this Rajatama and going more to the Sattva Guna, means attaining the Devi Sampattis and discarding the Asuri Sampattis. And this process of the life will change our life for the better. This will give us the peace of mind that we all yearn for all the time, and which should be our utmost or the topmost priority in our life. And this purity of our mind, inner mind, makes us eligible, makes us adhikari. That is the Shastri word for the word eligibility or suitability for Atmagnana, the self-knowledge of our own self, knowledge of the Brahman. Brahma means Sarvavyapaka Chaitanya. The Sarvavyapaka Atma is also called Brahma. Attaining the Devi and the Asuri, discarding the Asuri Sampatti is definitely not easy for all of us. We all have accepted it as our own part and parcel. And that's why it needs a lot of awareness, a lot of viveka, vichara, thought and constant practice in our life. And they are all in the mind. They are not in the body, because mind is the supreme commander, how it determines how our body works. And we have to change our vision to look at ourselves, at the different, at the life, at the world in a different way. We don't have to look at these qualities in others. The first 3 shlokas describes the divine qualities, the Devi Sampatti. Bhagavan describes 26 divine qualities in these first 3 shlokas, which are very important and very, very famous 3 shlokas of Sri Bhagavad Gita. Let us start with the first shloka. Abhayam sattva sanshuddhihi gnana yoga vyavasthitihi dhanam damascha yagnascha swadhyayastapa arjavam. So let us look at each and every one that Bhagavan is talking about. The first he says Abhayam, absence of all types of fears. Fear is a very common Asuri Sampatti, and we have many, many places for our fears. Fear of death is common to all. Fear of diseases, many of people have these kind of fears of cancers and etc. Fear of disturbed relationships, fear of not having enough wealth, old age, fear of natural disasters, accidents, all these different kinds of fear we have through our upbringing. So we should try and adjust, prevent as far as possible, protect ourselves from this by taking all due precautions. But finally, we have to accept what comes to us. And we must realize and understand that most of these fears are illusionary, they are imaginatory, they are all kalpanik. We all think about them, they are not the reality. What if something happens like this, and that's what we have to be aware about. And only with positive thinking, by visualization, by creative thinking, we can get out of the fear. And finally, the scriptures make us understand that everything in this world is temporary. It comes to an end one day. Our reality is something which is eternal, and we have to see this reality beyond what is seen and what is experienced in this world, and that's how we can get over all these different kinds of fear. The second quality is sattva sanshuddhi, purity of the inner mind, which is also very important on the spiritual path. Essentially, honesty, simplicity, truthfulness, and openness is what is purity of mind. This gives us the peace of mind, gives us a very healthy relationships in our life when we deal with other people, in our family, in the profession, at workplace, with our parents, and it gives us a peace of mind in any situation of life. May it be something which has come accidentally, may be some disastrous situation also. The raga dvesha are the main impurities, and these are part of what is called as a pancha klesha, the 5 klesha. And these are all our strong likes and dislikes, our obsessions, our duragra, our tendencies to hold on to things, not giving up. And Bhagavan in Gita Ji has already told us that Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga are the most important ways of purity, inner purity, because this gives us the Antakarana Shuddhi. Also Satsanga, study of our scriptures, Swadhyaya, Santa Samagama, being with the noble saints. This also brings purity because we can see, we can imbibe this Daivi Sampatti from them. And this essentially gives rise to a real peace of mind, the genuine happiness, the eternal bliss that we can experience in life. And of course, it makes us eligible for the Atma Jnana, because only with the pure mind, Sattvat Sanjayate Jnana, only with Sattva Guna, only with this Sattva or Shuddhi, we can understand this Atma Jnana, because without that, there is no way we can understand this. The third quality Bhagavan says is Gnana Yoga Vyavasthitihi, to become steady in knowledge and yoga. So Gnana means the Brahma Gnana, Atma Gnana, that what his Upanishads talk about, what Gurujis talk about, and what Gita Ji is also talking about. Yoga means the methods by which we imbibe this knowledge, by our experience, by contemplating our quiet mind, and then how we try to assimilate this in our life. So this is the yoga sadhana. Sadhana is, all these sadhanas are like Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, all these are sadhanas which lead us to the ultimate understanding of the goal, ultimate goal, Aham Brahmasmi. But I and the universal consciousness is not different. We are all one and the same. Vyavasthitihi word means to remain firmly established in this knowledge. And this is only possible by neutralizing our viparit samskaras, our opposite impressions that we have in our mind. So what we eat, we need to digest. Similarly, what we listen by way of Shravana, from Guru Mukha, from the Shastra, we have to, manana karke, by logic, we have to understand this. And this understanding has to become steady by Nididhyasana, which is a Vedantic meditation, by which this knowledge gets assimilated, and all the Viparyaya. Viparyaya means all the Viparit sanskaras, all the opposite tendencies, they get neutralized. And the another meaning of Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti means whatever I do with some kind of an understanding, with awareness, with giving it a proper thought, rather than being reactive or instinctively doing things. The fourth is Dhanam, charity, to give donations. And this donations is nothing but distributing well our objects as per our desire. Due to insecurity, humans have a tendency to hoard a lot of things. Yes, it is not bad to acquire things for our own security, for our own safety of the future, for our family. But this should be based on our need, not based on our greed. And that's why Vairagya, giving away, is celebrated in our tradition. And people who are great Danavir like Karna are always revered and celebrated in our parampara. Initially, this kind of giving or donating may be with efforts, because we have not felt the joy of this. But once we feel the joy of giving, that is in giving, we will start doing it more effortlessly, more often. And that's why we must do it with joy, and we should try to give to the right Yogya person, the right person who deserves, who needs it. And then we have to, our Shastras tell us that we have to forget about it. We can't remember this or make the others remember that I have given you this, what has happened to this. Once we do the donation, Neither when you do it with the right hand, neither the left hand should know about it. That's a kind of secret donation, the high value of the secret donation that our scriptures describe. Dhamma. Dhamma means Indriya Sanyam, control over our own sense organs. And this control is over our all the 10 Indriyas, the 5 Jnanendriyas through which we imbibe all the knowledge from the outside world, the Shotra, the Chakshu, the Rasana, the Grahana, smell, and the Tvaka, the touch, sensation, all these 5 sensory organs, and the 5 Karmendriya through which we do all the actions in this world, like speaking, by walking, like excretion, urinating, defecating, and sexual procreation. So all these Karmendriyas and Jnanendriyas control over all this is what is called as the Dhamma. And by nature, these Indriya are very, very chanchala. They are very restless. They are bahirmukha, means they want to go out. The moment we see or hear something, our eyes open, we want to see what is happening, because the Indriyas are very chanchal and very bahirmukha. And Bhagavan has also told us in Gita Ji, Indriyani pramathini prasanti prasabham manaha. Haranti prasabham manaha. Means Indriyas are very, very powerful pramathini, and they also take the mind away along with them. And that's why Indriya Sanyam is considered to be the first step in the spiritual journey. And only with Indriya getting a little quiet, Dhamma, then the mind becomes more quiet. So initially the Dhamma or the Indriya Sanyama has to be with some practice, with some perseverance, with some awareness, with some thought. And then only we develop Shama. Shama is the natural Sanyama of the Mana. So that is called Shama. The 6th value that Bhagavan tells us is Yagna. So Yagna essentially means a sacrifice. It is not just an obeisance or ahuti which is given to devatas in the sacrificial fire. That is the original meaning of yagna in the Vedic times. But in today's world, yagna means, according to Lord, it has a very wide meaning. It's any selfless action which is done for a larger benefit of the self or the society is called yagna. We must remember, Shastras tell us that as humans, we are all connected to this universe, and we are connected to all the other species also. And that's why giving and taking is part of the universe. Everybody does keep on giving, like plants, vegetables, all the planets, the moon, the air, the water, all the elements in this universe keep on giving. Oxygen also, there is free oxygen, plants give out oxygen. So similarly, it is my duty to give something. And yagnas described in the scriptures are of course not possible in today's life, but at least we can practice the 5 yagnas. The Pancha Yagnas, Deva Yagna, Pitru Yagna, Nru Yagna, where we give some kind of worship to the Devatas, to our forefathers, to our parents, to our teachers, to our guests, and to all the other beings, all the other species. These are the 5 Yagnas that at least we can do. Swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means study of the scriptures, and it also means self-observation. Study of the scriptures, biographies of the saints can help us to understand the good qualities. And Swa-adhyayana also means self-observation, introspection of our own thoughts, our own desires, our own goals, our own sadhanas that we use. And we all have unlimited creativity within us, which is all hidden within us. And we can ignite this creativity by doing creative thinking, by visualization, by auto-suggestions, and by doing this Shastra, adhyayana, and quieting or stilling our mind. Tapa. Tapa means to willingly endure pain for the purpose of self-control. And this helps us to assimilate the knowledge that we have learned in our life. For this, we need to do some kind of austerities, tapa. And this also gives rise to some kind of a discipline, self-control in us, which is called sanyama. And with tapa, what happens is the personality becomes more radiant. There is a lot of tej, purity, shuddhi, and beauty comes in the personality. And it also improves the self-confidence, because I'm able to do some kind of a discipline, some niyama, some rules I'm able to follow in my life. And this improves my self-confidence. It improves gradually my self-control. Guruji tells us to start slowly and then gradually increase the intensity of this tapa. Arjavam, simplicity, oneness in mind, words and action. Simplicity looks simple, but it is hard to practice and it is rare to find. Simplicity means having oneness in our thoughts, our speech and our actions. So that is what is alignment of all these vichara, vartana and vachana. All these should be the same. There should not be any hypocrisy, no dichotomy in each one of these. And this is only possible with honesty, with the sattva guna. And only with this we don't need to remember what was in our mind, what we had spoken, what we did. And this simplicity may appear to cause some short-term losses to us, but in the long run, it is very, very beneficial. It will offset a lot of loss. The next second shloka is ahimsa satyam akrodha tyaga shantirapaishunam daya bhuteshvalo luptvam mardavam hira chapalam. Ahimsa, non-violence. And it's a very common value for all. Like, I don't like to be pained, somebody doing some painful things to me. I also cannot do it to others. This is what is called as a samanya dharma. And ahimsa does not just mean bodily violence, but it also means violence by mind, which is called manasik hinsa, and by words, which is called vachika hinsa. So we should practice non-violence by all, our body, our mind, and our words. Complete non-violence is almost impossible in our life. We use antibiotics, we use pesticides, all this. Even when we walk, there is some kind of violence. Some microorganisms may be dying even when we go in some vehicles. But we should try to live our life with minimum violence. At least knowingly, we should not do any violence. That is what scriptures tell us. Vegetarianism is also a form of non-violent life because we knowingly do not do any harm to any living beings. Satyam, truth, honesty and integrity should be the foundation of our life. We should say truth always. And Satya means having integrity in our thoughts, words and actions. Basically means simplicity. Truthfulness needs courage because sometimes truth can be very bitter and it is not for the timid ones. But we should never try to justify dishonesty of others, that others are doing it. That's why I can also speak something different than what it actually is. And that's why the vyavharik truth, the truth that happens in our regular day-to-day transactions should be the foundation of our life. Only with this we can progress to search for the permanent truth, the paramarthik satya, that is the ultimate goal of all spiritual inquisitiveness or inquiry. Akrodha, absence of anger. We all know how anger disturbs us. In some proportion it is there in each one of us. Some people have it much higher, some people have it more milder, some people have it inner, some people project it outside, and it's sometimes very difficult to control this anger. And anger and happiness are both enemies. They don't stay together. The moment anger comes, happiness goes away. And that's why it does not give us any peace of mind or joy. And anger happens only when our desires are unfulfilled. That is the way the ego mode takes over, and then we develop, oh, why didn't she do what I had told him or told her to do? And that's how the anger starts coming. And our Shastras tell us that anger is like fire. It not only burns our own self, but it also burns the others. And it's the biggest enemy of people, especially the seekers, because it destroys a lot of our punya karma that is done by sadhana. It disturbs our mind. We cannot have peace of mind. And this restlessness of mind does not allow us to contemplate or do any of the sadhana. And that's why we must win over this enemy of anger with a very firm resolve, seeing this as my biggest weakness. Tyaga. Tyaga means to give up, some kind of vairagya. And this has to be with understanding, with viveka. And this is a very important Devi Sampati because it gives us a peace of mind. And giving up, vairagya is the foundation of the spiritual journey. The more we give up, the more we get, the more we attain, the more we prapta. And this large-heartedness is the habit of the nature. It's only the human beings, they have the value to hold. They don't want to give up. But there is some happiness which is involved in giving. And we need to experience that. Initially, we have to give with efforts, then it will become effortless. And in our culture, giving up is revered. People who give up are respected. Shanti, peace of mind. And this is our original state of our mind. That is what our Shastra tells us. Antakarana upashamana is Shanti. But when the mind is restless, we all want to yearn for peace. We want to get back to our original state of the mind. And this Devi Sampatti is to be attained, all Devi Sampatti actually has to be attained to achieve this peace of mind, which is the foundation of all the other Devi Sampattis. But this only is possible with understanding, with the resolve that I want to be peaceful. My peace of mind is going to be my highest priority. And that's why all my decisions in life will be taken after due diligence so that my peace of mind is not disturbed. And we can think of all the causes of restlessness that happens to us. Sometimes there may be fear as a foundation of these restlessness. We should try to remove these fears, and trusting God, living and surrendering to God also gives us a peace of mind. Apaishunam, absence of criticizing attitude, not speaking bad about the person in his or her absentia. And many people love backbiting, speaking about others in their absence, and this happens to be a favorite pastime for some. And this is due to the inner incompleteness, and that's why we want to speak bad about and show that we are better than the other, want to uplift ourselves. And this is something which is deprecated. Healthy criticism is welcome. We can tell in front of the person that this is not the right thing you have done. This could be a better way of doing this thing. That is a healthy criticism. It avoids the mistakes that can be done, and this is a much better way. But sometimes we should form a habit of speaking less as necessary and try to see good in others and inspire others. Daya bhuteshu loluptvam mardavam hira chapal. Daya bhuteshu means mercy towards all species, having compassion towards all the beings, especially those who are in pain. And this, being aware of others' pain and emotion, is our basic human tenet or human nature. Helping others definitely makes us happy. Seeing the smile in others definitely makes us happy. And this gives us a kind of sense of fulfillment that even money cannot bring. And Shri Krishna, that's why shows us this path of our progress. Aloluptvam. Aloluptvam means absence of greed. Humans always want to get more and more profit, more and more gains, and that greed is always there to get some more. The moment we get more, we want even more. And this will extend to sometimes for things or objects which rightfully does not belong to us also. So there is no end to greed. Our Shastras tell us that there is no end to desires, there is no end to greed. They are both bottomless. And only with some kind of understanding that scriptures provide us, we can come out of these aloluptvam or the absence of greed. Definitely wealth is important. Everybody knows that. It gives us a lot of comfort, security. But it is not everything in life. It cannot be the primary goal of life. Our primary goal has to be determined by our needs that are there in our life. And we should enjoy life by knowing the limits of our needs. We should try to avoid increasing our needs day in and day out. So the values of ethics, morality, and satisfaction in life are very important, and that should be the primary goal or foundation of our life. Mardavam, mruduta, gentleness in action, speech, and mind. It provides a great warmth in the personality. And saints, the definition of saints are they are gentle to others, but they are harsh to themselves because they are disciplined. Whereas the wicked, tushta people are harsh to others, but they are very gentle. They will easily forget all their mistakes. They are gentle on their self. So we should try to become more gentle. We should try to become gentle, but at the same time, sometimes we may require to become firm and tell something to people without being rude or harsh to them. And this gentleness will bring in the gratitude, and this gratitude will also bring in this gentleness in us. They both go hand in hand. Having gratitude towards our family, our parents, our friends, our colleagues, our co-workers, our team members, our kids, our children, definitely will help us to become more gentle. And that's why we say we deal lovingly and be nice to everyone. Rihi. Rihi means shame. Shame in doing something unethical, doing something illegal, and that shame will try to bring out that voice within. How could I do such a thing to others? And that's why we need to conduct ourselves with definitely some kind of respect that humans deserve. And whenever we do anything wrong, that inner voice, that conscious will always bite us. It will give us a warning or, a voice that okay, this is not the right thing you're doing. And that is rihi. That is a shame which protects me from doing the wrong things. But if I keep doing the wrong things again and again, that voice of consciousness muffles. And a stage comes when that voice of consciousness doesn't even spring up. And that's why we should follow all the rules for social behavior, just like we follow the traffic rules on the road for our safety. We should follow our conscience. If it tells us, we must listen to them and listen and live our life accordingly. Achapalam. Achapalam means absence of restlessness, being calm. Chapalam means restlessness. And restlessness is a sign of superficiality of the character or personality, being unaware about what we are doing, speaking, or behaving. So restlessness can be of different types. Vakchapalam, speaking too much. Karma chapalam, restlessness of our body. Bhoga chapalam, constantly dwelling in sense objects. And only with a very quiet body we can have a still mind, and only with a still mind we can have a progress in spirituality. And that's why we have to start from our body, go towards our mind, and then toward the soul. So the third shloka, Teja Shama Dhruti Shaucham Adroho Nati Manita Bhavanti Sampadam Daivim Abhijatasya Bharata. Teja. Teja means enlightenment in the personality. A strong personality which is such that in the presence of which nobody speaks truth. Everybody respects their personality. And this is not out of fear, but out of respect, out of reverence for that person. And this kind of a strong personality is due to the tej in the character of the person. And the foundation of this teja is, the basis is the discipline that person has, that nishtha, that commitment of that person in the duty, in the dharma, in the ethics, in the morality. And this discipline should not make us very rigid in following the rules. It should not make us, very tight, but it should help us to be more flexible, to forgive others. For small little things, we shouldn't bother. For our foundation, for our principles, we should be very adag, we should be very strong in our principles. Kshama, forgiveness. So quiet forgiveness without any ripples that happen within our mind is called kshama. It is the inner state where there is no wave of anger, there is no akrosh when we forgive others. It definitely needs a lot of courage to forgive people. It's not for the weakling. And we should understand that everybody behaves according to their own nature, and everyone has their own weaknesses. Even I have some, all of the people, everyone has some weakness. And with this understanding, we can let go, we can forgive people. And this is a positive attitude with a glad acceptance of all, not like a negative attitude that, okay, this time I forgive you. And then it has a lot of pressure on us, which pressure that builds up, and sometimes then like a pressure cooker comes out as a form of akrosha or anger in front of people. Forgiving and forgetting trivial things, being large-hearted, also helps us to become more forgiving to others. Drutihi. Druti Shakti is the power to control our rage, our emotions, having patience, having dhira, gambhirya. The force that helps me to control my emotions. It is like a brake on our flow of emotions. And then this emotions can be modulated in better ways, channelized into better ways, can be molded into Sat, can be molded towards the Lord, towards Paramatma, towards the better activities where there is beneficial to the entire society. And this has been described or compared with like creating a dam on the river so that it will control the water, and then that water is channelized by different channels into the different farms for irrigation. And this Dhruti only builds up our self-confidence, and it helps us to overcome a lot of difficulties in our life. We have to have that Dhruti Shakti. This also gives us the enthusiasm. Along with patience, we also need enthusiasm. This may sound contradictory, but it's a very, very important combination in achieving anything, not only in this world, but even in the spiritual path. And this patience comes out of our strength by understanding so that we can get over different obstacles. Shaucham. Shaucham means purity, cleanliness, and the mind purity. And here Shaucham stands more for the outer purity, because Bhagavan has already said Sattva, Sanshuddhi, purity of the inner mind has already been described earlier. That's why here it means more of cleanliness in our place, home, office, in our clothes, in our, taking care of the body by regular bathing, cleaning our teeth and everything, all the clean food, all the clean wealth, ethical wealth, all this is purity of the dhana shuddhi, sharira shuddhi, and then the mana shuddhi, antara shuddhi, which is more difficult, which requires more awareness. But we have to start from the external shuddhi, and then only we can talk about or think about the antar shuddhi. And this essentially requires getting out the impurities of our mind by raga, dvesha, by positive feelings, by helping attitude. And this makes our mind quiet, and this helps to attain the Devi Guna for inner purity. And inner purity is the prerequisite for attaining Atma Jnana. Adroho. Abdroho means absence of having a revengeful attitude. Animosity towards others, which creates a feeling of revenge, is not a healthy attitude. And we should understand that people are instruments for getting my sukha or for my dukkha. If somebody hurts me, he is the instrument to give me. It is me who has perceived this dukkha, and that's why I need to go through these experiences by my karma phala theory. And that's why I should not blame others for what has been done, either good or bad, rather than labeling them. And we should not try to blame our own self for any situation that we are in. This kind of a glad acceptance of all, acceptance or even my own self as I am, and this will help me to become calm and try to avoid this adroho or absence of this attitude. And finally, na ati manita, absence of craving for respect. We all need to be respected. Some respect is fine, but all the time desiring, craving for respect, appreciation, all the time needs to be avoided. For anything little I do, I need appreciation, that is to be avoided, because this creates many issues, many differences, many quarrels in our daily life. We always feel that you did not appreciate me for what I did, and now you want appreciation. So all these problems make a lot of issues in our life. And I should understand that I'm doing my duty, whatever I'm doing, and the circumstances for me to perform this kind of duty are given to me. A lot of instruments, a lot of manpower, the team, all this is given to me. This intellect, mind is also given to me to do this kind of a work. And that's why whenever I do something good, I shouldn't want respect or appreciation from others. And we should also remember that respect cannot be demanded. It has to be commanded by my own efforts, by my own personality, by my own character. I have to command respect. And Bhagavan comes to the end of this Devi Sampatti. He says, Bhavanti Sampadam Devim Abhijatasya Bharata. O Arjun, such are the virtues of the person who are born with the divine qualities. And Shri Krishna, now repeatedly we have to remember these qualities, the Devi Sampatti, and only by self-observation we can try to imbibe them, to cultivate them in our own life. And this helps us. We have to assimilate this in our life, and then only it will make us a life-changing experience. We should always remember that these Devi Sampatti has a direct correlation with the Shuddhi of the mind, and Shuddhi of the mind is only with the Shuddhi of the Antakarana we can understand the Atma Jnana, self-knowledge, what is given in our scriptures. And for this, the Devi Sampatti is the first step to our improvement. Now, in the fourth shloka, Bhagavan just gives an introduction of the Asuri Sampatti. He says, Dambaha, hypocrisy, Darpa, arrogance, Abhimana, self-pride, ego, Krodha, anger, Parushya, harsh words which inflict pain, and Ajnana, ignorance, lack of understanding. O Arjuna, these are the qualities of the people who are born with the demonical or Asuri Sampatti. And then he says that divine Daivi Sampatti Vimoksha, divine qualities are to be imbibed because they lead to moksha, liberation, freedom. And Asuri Sampatti Nibandhaya, he says demonical qualities lead to bondage. It will keep us in this world, whereas divine qualities will uplift us from this samsara chakra and it will lead to moksha. And he says, O Arjuna, he consoles Arjun saying, don't worry, ma shuchaha. Don't worry, Arjun. You are born with the divine qualities and that's why you are eligible for moksha. Our Guruji tells us that all those who listen to Gita Ji, try to understand Gita Ji, are all eligible for moksha because they have this Devi Sampatti, so that they are listening to Gita Ji. The next shloka, Bhagavan says, Dvau Bhut Sargo Lokasmina. In this world, there are two types of people who are born with Devi and Asuri Sampatti. Devi is divine qualities and Asuri are the demonical dispositions. He says, Daivaha Vistarasha Prokta. I told you in details about the Devi Sampatti, and now he is pledging that you hear in details about the devilish qualities or the Asuri Sampatti. So from the 7th shloka, Bhagavan tries to give a detailed description of the Asuri Sampatti. He says in the first shloka, the 7th shloka, it says, describes the life of a person who lives a demonical value or Asuri Sampatti. He says, these people who have demonical values, they don't know what is pravrittim cha nivrittim cha. They don't know what is worth doing, pravritti, and they don't know what is nivritti, what is not worth doing. They don't know what is the karma they should do, kartavya, what is the duty, what they should not do. They keep doing what they like, they keep not doing what they dislike. That is how they operate. Na shaucham, they don't have purity of the wealth. They will adopt any means of the man. Man is not shuddha. Vyavhar is also not shuddha. Na apicha acharaha. They also don't know what is sadachara, good behavior. Teshu satyam na vidyate. They are not honest in their words, in their actions. They take the help of asatya. They take the help of dishonesty to live their life. And how do they think about this world? Because they are like this, what do they think about the world? Jagat ahuhu asatyam. The entire world is filled with dishonesty, they feel. Because they are dishonest, they feel the entire world is dishonest. Apratishtamte. They think that the world is without any pratishta, adhara. There is nothing like God, anishwaram. There is nothing like Lord, there is no adhara. Everything goes on and on just by the attraction of the union of the two sexes, the male and the female. And that's how these people are born. And that's how this world goes on and on. There is no foundation of this universe. That is what is their belief. And what happens to their life with such a vision? By having this kind of vision, these people who are alpa buddhayaha, Bhagavan says they have a very limited intellect. They cannot think beyond. They only see short-sighted behavior. They have a very gross intellect. Nashta atmanaha. They are unable to achieve any higher goal, any spiritual goal, any higher goal of life. They are not able to achieve what the human life is meant for. And they are involved in ugra karmanaha, violent actions. They do harsh words. They use force, brute force. And what do? They do jagata ahita shayaya. They are damaging for this world. They create a lot of damage. Ahita. They do not do any kalyana to this universe. They are kamam ashritya. They all have endless dushpuram, endless desires. They want this, that, the other, everything. And they operate with dambha, hypocrisy, mana, false pride, and mada, ego. That is how they operate. And because of all these moha, delusions, asadgrahan, they are obsessed with all these misconceptions, obsessions. And that is how they operate. Ashuchi vrataha, and their decisions are neither clear nor firm. They just keep changing the decision all the time. And because of all these, the way they live, what happens? They say, Chintam apashrita aparimeyam. They are affected by endless apariyema, endless anxieties, chinta, stress, tensions, pralayantam. Till their body comes to an end, till the death, they keep doing tensions, anxieties, stress. Kama upabhoga parama. They are always attracted to sense pleasures, sense objects. And that is what they feel that this life is all about. They say, etavat. This is all that needs to be done in the life. There is nothing more in the life except for indulging in sense pleasures, and this is their understanding. And because of this, asha pasha shataihi baddhaha, they are all bound by thousands of desires. Kama krodha parayanaha, they are all devoted to lust and anger. And kama bhogartham, they are all involved always in sense pleasures, not for dharma. Anyayana, even by unethical means, by illegal means, they want to accumulate wealth, artha sanchayan. They will indulge in sense objects, comforts. They will go to any extremity, any means to, to earn this material pleasures in life. And what is their thinking? What is their mentality? Idam adya maya labdham. Today I have achieved so much. Imam prapya se manoratham. And they keep desiring that in the future I'll achieve much more. Idam asti idam api. Today I have so much of wealth. Me bhavishyati punah dhanam. In future I shall have much more wealth. This is what they keep aspiring, desiring in their mind. They say, today I have this much of wealth or this comforts or assets or investments, and tomorrow I'll have this. After 1 year, after 5 years, I'll have this. Of course, Guru Maharaj tells us that wealth is important, but it is not everything in our life, and we should know our limits. That what wealth can, buy us. And then that's why they also have this kind of a thinking. Today I have won over many enemies. Asau maya hata shatruhu. Enemies in today's world are our competitors. And aparan apicha anishye. Still I have to defeat or get over many others. I am the Almighty Ishwaraha Aham. Aham Bhogi, I am the enjoyer. I have so much to enjoy. Siddhaham, I am well to do. Palavan, I am very powerful. I can achieve anything. I can do anything. And I am so happy. I have all the comforts, pleasures of life. I have been to this vacation and I have been to this and all these kind of illusions they have. Adhyavaham, I am very wealthy. I am Dhanavana. Abhijanavana Asmi, I am for a very illustrious family. My forefathers were this and that. And who can be like me? There is nobody like me. Kanya Asti Sadrushamaya. There is nobody like me. I shall do many yagnas to become famous. I shall do many donations. I shall attain a lot of happiness by sense pleasures. And this is the ignorance. Iti ajnana vimohitaha, that deludes their mind. And this ignorance, this is how they operate essentially. Aneka chitta vibhranta, with so many obsessions, their mind is always clouded. There is no clear decision making. Moha jala samavrtaha, they are engrossed in the web of attachments with their family, with their work, with a lot of people they come in contact with, and they are always ever indulging kama bhogeshu, in sense pleasures. And what happens to them? Bhagavan tells us, patanti, they are demoted to naraka, ashuchau. These impure people are demoted to the hell. They don't have any progress in life. Even after death, they don't go to any higher lokas. And these are the people who are Atma Sambhavita. They are all obsessed with their own self-glorification, self-pride, self-praise. Stabdaha. They are always very tight. They are never humble. There is no humility. Dhanamana Madanvitaha. They are always indulging in wealth, respect, false respect and pride. Yajante Nama Yagnai. They do yagna only for namesake. Dambhena, for show off. Avvidhi Purvakam, without any methods that are described in scriptures. With the pride of one's own self, I have done this, I can achieve this. With bala, filled with lust, attachments. Darpa, with the arrogance. With khamam, many desires. Krodham, with anger all the time. Abhyasuyaka, they see the dosha, vices in virtues of others. And what happens? Actually, they do a lot of anguish. Bhagavan says, they anguish me, who is sitting inside the body of all the beings. Atma Paradeheshu, I am sitting there. They Mam Pradvishantaha. And Bhagavan in the next sloka tells us what is their final goal of such kind of people. They say, Bhagavan says, Tan aham dvishataha, those who disrespect me, those who are harsh, cruel, violent to others, those who are naradhaman, those who have already become inhuman like animals, they are very violent people. Ashubhan, those who are involved in unpious activities. Bhagavan says, Shipami asurim eva yonishu. Ajastram. I throw them to this, I send them to this lower world, the Asuri Yonis. Ajastram means repeatedly they go to these Yonis. Asurim Yonim Apannaha. Once they are demoted to this lower species, the Asuri Yoni, these Mudha, these deluded people, they Janmani, Yata Tata Yati Yanti Adamam Gatim. They are demoted to this lower spirit. Every birth they go to this Adama Yoni. And what do they miss? They miss this golden opportunity, this chance in human life where they could have attained Mam Aprapya. They could have attained the Lord, they could have attained God, but they miss this chance. O Kaunteya, they don't attain me. They attain these lower species. They have missed this human chance in which we have this free will to do the karma according to our own free will and improve our future life, to improve our karma phala, to improve our punya, and then to attain and be one with the Lord. Bhagavan says in the 21st shloka that these are the three doors to hell. Trividham Narakasya Dwaram. Which one? He says they destroy the purpose of life, the goal of life. Kama, Krodha, Tatha, Lobha. He says desires, anger and greed. These are the three doors to the hell. That's why he tells Arjun, Tasmat etat trayam tyajed. You should leave all these three. And in the 22nd shloka, Bhagavan tells Arjuna, O Arjuna, people who are devoid of these three vices, Kama, Krodha and the Lobha, which is mentioned in the previous shloka, which are the door to hell, Tamodvarai Tribhi Naraha. And they are the people who Acharati Atmana Shreya. They can attain their own salvation by their virtues, and then finally they can attain Tato Yati Paramgati. They can attain the highest self, Paragati, highest self, Paramatma, to understand their own self and being one with the Atma, Paramatma. And this understanding, they can attain this eternal knowledge. And this is what Bhagavan is described in the Adhyatma Sadhana, the spiritual knowledge, where the first step is to let go of the demonic values, the qualities in us, the Asuri Sampatti, and only then there will be some space inside us to imbibe or cultivate these divine qualities, the Daivi Sampatti. And finally, this causes Shuddhi, Antakarana Shuddhi, a quiet, still mind, which gives us a lot of peace, Shanti. And with this, we can go on further to attain the Atmagnana, the self-knowledge. And then this knowledge has to be imbibed in us, assimilated in our own life, so that we can live our life according to this knowledge. And this is the only thing that can give us the ultimate liberation, freedom, moksha, can make us one with the divine. In the 23rd shloka, Bhagavan tells us that what happens to these people who act against the rituals which are shown in the scriptures. Yaha Shastra Vidim Utsrujya. Those who do not follow the scriptures, Vartate Kamakaratah, but they behave with their own likes and dislikes. Sasiddhim na avapnoti. They do not attain any worthy accomplishment. Nasukham. They don't attain any happiness. Na param gatim. They also do not attain the paragati, the highest goal, the self or the God attainment. They miss this chance in their life. And that's why Bhagavan tells in the final shloka of the 16th Adhyaya, he says, Tasmat Shastram Pramanam Te. Therefore, for you, Arjun, the scriptures are the final evidence. Karya Vyavasthita, of what needs to be done, what need not to be done, what is the kartavya, what I should do, what I should not do, for in different situations, in different circumstances of my life. Only scriptures can tell me Shruti Grantha, the Veda, Upanishads, and which Gitaji is the base or the summary of these Upanishads. These are called the Shruti Grantha, and they are the final pramana, they are the final evidence what I need to do, what I need to do, not need to do. Vinatva, that's why Bhagavan tells Arjuna, therefore by knowing what has been described or said in the scriptures, karma kartum ihar asi, you should do all your actions according to your duty, according to the scriptures, because this is the final evidence. Shastra is the pramana, and this human life is our best chance for changing our future. That is what scriptures tell us. So scriptures are like traffic signals for our life. They tell us, give us a red light, Asuri Sampatti, we have to stop. When it becomes green light, the Devi Sampatti, we can go on. Just like traffic signals are important for maintaining the safety on the roads, these rules which are described in the scriptures, the Devi and the Asuri Sampatti, are also very important for maintaining our own life with safety, with equanimity, with peace of our life. So coming to the end of the 16th Adhyaya, summarizing the 16th Adhyaya, Bhagavan is trying to tell us, but he is not saying that you leave Asuri Sampatti and imbibe Devi Sampatti. He is just showing us that these are the Devi Sampatti, these are the Asuri Sampatti. It is up to us what we want to do. Guruji tells us that we should leave this Asuri Sampatti and imbibe or inculcate or imbibe this, cultivate this Devi Sampatti so that we can go towards Sattva Guna. Similarly, in the 14th Adhyaya, Bhagavan never said you go towards Sattva Guna. He only showed the Sattva Guna, Rajas and Tamas, how they operate, how they bind us differently. And Guruji tells us that this is a easy Adhyaya to understand, comparatively much easier Adhyaya to understand, because these Daivi and Asuri Sampatti are part of our life. We all have these in some form or the others. But it's extremely difficult to practice in life, to put in practice, because this requires a lot of our understanding, and there are some very strong past impressions, Purva Sanskara in us, which are very strongly rooted, and that's why we sometimes instinctively behave that way. And that's why to change our behavior, this requires constant awareness. For that we have to do some self-observation regularly, introspection on a daily basis. Only then that life change can happen for us. And this is, we have to look inside our own self, seeing it in a mirror. This Daivi or Asuri Sampatti is not meant, Guruji always tells us, it is not for judging others, not meant to be looked into others. It has to be like a mirror, so that we can see in our own mirror, our own reflection, where we stand. This is not for changing others. It is only meant for changing myself, so that I can lead a better life, I can be a better person, and I can, improve my future life and my future birth. So with this we come to the end of the 16th Adhyaya. Om Tat Sat Iti Srimad Bhagavad Gitasu Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Daivasura Sampad Vigbhaga Yogo Nama Shodashodhyayaha Sarvadharman Parityajya Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tva Sarva Papebhyo Moksha Ishyami Ma Shuchaha. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Devo Maheshwara Guru Sakshat Parabrahma Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.